Now, from the Low Country's news leader, this is Live 5 News.
11 people gunned down as they worshipped in a building that symbolized a safe haven in every way but one. It did not protect them from the hate that walked into their synagogue Saturday morning in Pittsburgh. Despite the miles between that city and Charleston, it's a scene all too familiar for many here in the Low Country, just 3 years after Dylan Roof took the lives of 9 parishioners at Mother Emanuel AME Church. A vigil was held tonight, starting at the Charleston Holocaust Memorial and ending at that very same church to mourn the lives lost in this most recent attack. Church bells tolled as candles illuminated the hundreds of faces gathered tonight to condemn an attack that left 11 dead inside a synagogue in Pittsburgh.
We recognize that this is an attack on all of you, on your faith, on your right to worship, your places of worship, and on all humanity.
One special guest tonight was Mark Goldstein, who is from the Squirrel Hill neighborhood where this weekend shooting happened.
And it was really nice for me to know that there was a gathering, and I really appreciate it.
Religious leaders of many faiths condemned Saturday's act of hate, standing with the Jewish community.
Why are people of all races and religions no longer safe in our own communities or houses of worship?
It's the same yearning question that many in the Palmetto State were asking just 3 years ago, at the very site where tonight's vigil ended.
The similarities between both instances are very eerie. But unfortunately, hate continues to try to rear its ugly head. And what we must do as a community and as a body of believers is to remind folks that love is always stronger than hate.
It's a message that spurred change in South Carolina, and many tonight are hoping this very same sentiment can change our country too.
Charleston is a place who has shown the world how to respond to terrible tragedies. And we've come to offer our support and to hold their hands and hold their hearts and show that we are one community.
The suspect accused of killing 11 people at the Tree of Life Synagogue could face the death penalty. Today, Robert Bowers was charged with 11 counts of murder and federal hate crimes. Investigators also released the names of those 11 victims today. The victims ranged in age from 54 to 97 and included a pair of brothers as well as a couple who had been married over 60 years. Earlier tonight, thousands of members from the Pittsburgh community gathered to mourn those victims. At the vigil, Pittsburgh's mayor spoke, condemning this act of hate and calling the city resilient.
We will drive anti-Semitism and the hate of any people back to the basement on their computer and away from the open discussions and dialogues around this city, around this state, and around this country.
This shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue is the deadliest rampage against a Jewish community in American history. As you saw from that vigil happening in downtown Charleston this evening, this tragedy has hit close to home for many of us here in the Low Country after our own community suffered from a similar hate crime just 3 years ago when those 9 parishioners were shot and killed as they gathered for a Bible study at Mother Emanuel AME Church. And in the midst of all of this, we have learned that South Carolina Representative Wendell Gilliard plans to pre-file legislation that would fight hate crimes in the Palmetto State. It's a battle that's been going on for years, though. This same type of legislation has stalled in the House Judiciary Committee at least 2 times before, leaving South Carolina as one of only 5 remaining states in the country without a hate crimes law. Despite our state's history that is rife with racial tensions and the home of at least 12 known active hate groups, it's had to rely on the federal government to prosecute cases involving civil rights, much like the case against convicted Mother Emanuel shooter Dylan Roof.
It shows that South Carolina perhaps, is not on pace with the rest of the country in terms of the significance they place on hate crimes.
After yesterday's massacre in Pittsburgh, a new report shows hate crimes are on the rise nationwide. Coming up in just a few minutes, we break down those numbers for you and see why last year saw the biggest spike in hate crimes since 1979. New tonight at 11, the National Transportation Safety Board has taken over the investigation into the missing plane just off of our coast. And after days of searching, the U.S. Coast Guard has suspended that search for the plane. As of this morning, the Coast Guard had searched over 3,000 square miles. The aircraft left an airport in Andrews, and it was heading to the Bahamas. Shortly after takeoff, though, air traffic control got a report of an in-flight emergency, and they lost contact with the plane. We've also learned 5 people were on board at the time. The Coast Guard, though, says they are not releasing the names of those passengers out of respect for the families. Today, hundreds of law enforcement and community members came together to pay their respects to the investigator who died as a result of her injuries from an ambush shooting in Florence earlier this month. Investigator Farrah Turner is the second officer to die following that shooting. Officer Terrence Caraway was laid to rest earlier this month, and our Brooke Griffin spoke to officers and Turner's friends who say she had the brightest smile around.
Every officer today sitting inside this arena for 1 second or two will entertain that could be them down there. That could be their family sitting down there on the front row, and it'll hit them hard.
Hundreds of officers who say they have heavy hearts came to pay their respects to Florence County investigator Farrah Turner.
This is a reality check for every police officer that's going to walk through these doors today. We're going to look down on that floor, and we're going to be reminded that could be us at any time, any second, no matter where we are.
From South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and the Low Country, the center was packed.
She was a part of this family. And again, that's a family member of ours that's gone.
Saying that October continues to bring tragedy.
You know, we were here a couple weeks ago to lay the sergeant to rest, and here we are back again today.
And even a young girl from North Carolina who says that Farrah saved her life.
I really owe her a lot, but I just wish she didn't happen to her.
Some surprised to learn the amount of lives she touched.
She mean a lot to a lot of people. She was an example. I did not know she moved so much people here today, and it just makes me realize even more she just helped more than one person. She wasn't just she was out there, helping the community and all.
And those in blue asking everyone to always remember the devastation in Florence.
She gave the ultimate sacrifice, and we're glad to be here and support her family.
In Florence, Brooke Griffin, Live 5 News.
She was laid to rest at the Florence Memorial Garden with a law enforcement escort of over 100 vehicles. Investigators have now charged the suspect, Fred Hopkins, with the murder of Farrah Turner with her passing. Hopkins is already charged with murder and 6 counts of attempted murder. His son, Seth Hopkins, also in jail on criminal sexual conduct charges involving a minor. Fred Hopkins is, of course, the one accused of shooting 7 members of law enforcement in Florence County. That ambush attack happened back on October 3rd while they were serving a warrant to the younger Hopkins. Sergeant Terrence Caraway also killed in that incident. And Florence County Deputy Ari Davis has been released from rehab and is now back home. Good news tonight to hear that. She and fellow Deputy Sarah Miller were released from the hospital last week. And according to the city of Florence, Police Sergeant Scott Williamson still recovering at a rehabilitation center in Georgia. A clear night here across the Low Country after we had another beautiful fall day. But we can say goodbye to those fall-like temperatures because a warm-up is on the way. Meteorologist Stephanie Sign with me now, and she's been tracking your work week forecast all day. Stephanie, when can we expect to feel those warmer temperatures this week?
As early as tomorrow, Caitlin. So if you've enjoyed the nice cooler temperatures, enjoy it right now, even tomorrow morning, because we're going to start to heat up just a little bit day by day. Nothing dramatic, nothing record-breaking, but it will be warmer than what we've gotten used to for about the past week or two. You can see temperatures tonight already on the cooler side, 50s, 60s in some spots. But this is already warmer than last night. We're 7 degrees warmer in Orangeburg, a 5-degree difference in Manning, 4 in Somerville, 2 in Moncks Corner. So we're already feeling a little bit of a warmer trend and expect a warmer day tomorrow. Live Super Doppler Max, expect a dry day as well. Not much going on. There's actually a dry cold front moving on in, really not leaving us much. Temperatures starting off the day is your bus stop forecast, 55 in the morning hours. By the afternoon, this is what we're talking about with warmer temperatures. Tomorrow, 75, but we're talking about even warmer temperatures towards Halloween. But then we have another cool down. We'll talk about all of those ups and downs coming up in a few minutes. Caitlin.
The American Red Cross is helping a family whose home was damaged by a fire last night in Williamsburg County. This happened around 8:30 on Poplar Road. 2 adults and 2 children have been displaced, but the good news tonight, the Williamsburg County Fire Chief says that home is not a total loss. The fire was contained to the kitchen and was put out in about 10 minutes. Chief Randy Swinton also said no one was home at the time of that fire. Here in the Holy City, we love our food and some meals we'd even consider sacred. A look at Charleston's first ever Brunch Fest coming up. First, though, in the wake of yesterday's massacre, a new report shows hate crimes, specifically anti-Semitism, are on the rise nationwide. We have those numbers next.
Allegations